We have some great news for Trump in that Fani Willis, her whole agenda is starting to fall apart. I'll unpack that for you in just a minute. First, thank you guys for subscribing. My name is Doug, and this is Doug in Exile, where I try and find you the key big headlines each day so you can just stay up to date on the news. And I try and break it all down for like normal people to understand it because it is very convoluted. Last night, by the way, I got my hats off to Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law. He's on both YouTube and Rumble, but he's an old buddy of mine. He took me last night to see White Zombie or Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper. So Alice Cooper's 75 years old and still rocking it and filling up the whole Bridgestone in downtown Nashville. So we had a great time. I just had to say thank you for a good time. And then also, Greg Kokel reached out and said that many of you bought his book. The link is in yesterday's video, but the book is Street Smarts by Greg Kokel, and he just said he said his numbers went up. So because of you guys, thank you guys for supporting him. It's very important that we support good thinkers and good Christian men. It's going to go like this. Here's the headline: Georgia defendants' legal strategies could delay Trump trial. Now, this is key. It's kind of blown away. Don't miss it because it's all there in the headline. The whole Trump trial is about timing. It is not about justice. It is not about they don't even want him in jail. They will put him in jail, but they don't want him in jail. They only want to affect the 2024 election. That's my theory. This whole thing has to tie him up before the election. So a delay, if Trump can get this thing delayed, he wins. Because first of all, he can pardon all of the other 3 court cases if he loses them. He can pardon himself. This one in Georgia, he can't pardon himself, but there's other ways to work around it. So the good guys in this case, the defendants, the Republicans, are gumming up the works that is going to create delays. Here, we'll read this article from The Hill, which is where I got this headline from. The early defense strategies being pursued by former President Trump and his 18 co-defendants in Georgia are quickly complicating prosecutors' aim to go to trial next month. So that alone, big victory for Trump. District Attorney Fani Willis, Democrat, no duh, is attempting to keep all of the co-defendants together for a singular trial beginning October 23rd, but several legal maneuvers already underway pose deep challenges to Willis's goal, which legal experts have called extraordinarily ambitious. So her goal is out of reach. So that's bad news for her and good news for Trump. The out of reach thing is only the timing. It's not that you can't try someone like Trump for whatever they're going to try him for. And these 19 co-defendants, Sidney Powell, Mark Meadows, Cheeseborough, Eastman, Jenna Ellis, it's not that it's impossible. You can't do it in this amount of time. There's no reason for the rush other than to affect an election. And that's why it keeps exposing them. They keep saying, no, this is for justice. No one's above the law. Maybe he shouldn't break the RICO statutes. Those are all lies. That's their cover, because deep down inside, we know what's going on. Here we go. So far, 5 defendants have attempted to move their charges to federal court. 2 have demanded a speedy trial, and a majority have aimed to sever their charges from fellow co-defendants. We did this last week on Cheeseborough and Sidney Powell. They've actually broken away from the 19 and said, we don't want a delayed trial. We want a speedy one. We want to break off from the main trial and have our own separate trials. And then even within those 2, Cheeseborough and Sidney Powell, Cheeseborough's going, look, I've never even met Sidney Powell. Okay, you're trying to get me for advising Trump on the alternate electors strategy. And then you're trying to get Sidney Powell on breaking into some vote machines. Okay. 2 completely different cases. They have, it's going to be very hard to try them together. They're going to hear witnesses on each side. They don't belong together. They should all be severed. And if that happens, it's going to break it up into 19 different court cases. And really what Fani is trying to do is kind of use them as witnesses against Trump. That's the RICO statute. So it's all falling apart too quick. It's too hard to manage. Here's Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee teased last week the difficulties of trying so many people in such a short amount of time. Quote, "It just seems a bit unrealistic to think that we can handle all 19 in 40-something days," unquote, he said. Trump has looked to delay the trial timeline in all 4 of his criminal cases. Though Georgia's charges aren't subject to a presidential pardon, the recent maneuvering raises the possibility that a trial won't be held until after the November 2024 election. If that's true, all of this is for nothing. Remember, the entire agenda, that's Jack Smith, the Democrat Party, Biden's entire DOJ, that is Judge Chutkan in Washington, D.C., Alvin Bragg, it will be for nothing if Trump wins, because they're only bringing it up because Trump ran. Remember that. This is a huge victory for Trump. Thank you all for subscribing. More videos to come today. I'm Doug in Exile.